Andorra, officially the Principality of Andorra, also called the Principality of the Valleys of Andorra, is a sovereign landlocked microstate in southwestern Europe, located in the eastern Pyrenees Mountains and bordered by Spain and France. Created under a charter in AD 988, the present principality was formed in AD 1278. Andorra is the sixth smallest nation in Europe, having an area of 468 square kilometers and a population of approximately 85,000. Its capital Andorra la Vella is the highest capital city in Europe, at an elevation of 1,023 meters above sea level. The official language is Catalan, although Spanish, Portuguese, and French are also commonly spoken. Andorra's tourism services an estimated 10.2 million visitors annually. It is not a member of the European Union, but the euro is the de facto currency. It has been a member of the United Nations since 1993. The people of Andorra have one of the highest life expectancies in the world and as of December 2014, according to The Lancet, have the highest in the world, at 81 years in 2013. Etymology. The origin of the word Andorra is unknown, although several theories have been formulated. The oldest derivation of the word Andorra is from the Greek historian Polybius, who describes the Andosans, an Iberian pre-Roman tribe, as historically located in the valleys of Andorra and facing the Carthaginian army in its passage through the Pyrenees during the Punic Wars. The word Andosini or Andosans may derive from the Basque Andia, whose meaning is big, or giant. The Andorran toponymy shows evidence of Basque language in the area. Another theory suggests that the word Andorra may derive from the old word Anora that contains the Basque word One theory suggests that Andorra may derive from Arabic al-Dara, meaning the pearl. When the Moors invaded the Iberian Peninsula, the valleys of the Pyrenees were formed by large tracts of forest, and other regions and towns, also dominated by Muslims, received this designation. Other theories suggest that the term derives from the Navarro-Aragonese Andorral, which means land covered with bushes, or scrubland. The folk etymology holds that Charlemagne had named the region as a reference to the biblical Canaanite valley of Endor or Andor, a name also bestowed by their heir and son Louis le de Bonnaire after defeating the Moors in the wild valleys of Hell. History. Tradition holds that Charles the Great granted a charter to the Andorran people in return for fighting against the Moors. Overlordship of the territory was by the Count of Urgell and eventually by the Bishop of the Diocese of Urgell. In 988, Boreal II, Count of Urgell, gave the Andorran valleys to the Diocese of Urgell in exchange for land in Sardinia. Since then the Bishop of Urgell, based in Seu d'Urgell, has owned Andorra. Before 1095, Andorra did not have any type of military protection, and the Bishop of Urgell, who knew that the Count of Urgell wanted to reclaim the Andorran valleys, asked for help and protection from the Lord of Cabet. In 1095 the Lord of Cabet and the Bishop of Urgell signed under oath a declaration of their co-sovereignty over Andorra. Arnalda, daughter of Arnor of Cabet, married the Viscount of Castelbau and both became Viscounts of Castelbau and Sardinia. Years later their daughter, Ermesinde, married Roger Bernat II, the French Count of Foix. They became Roger Bernat II and Ermesinde, Counts of Foix, Viscounts of Castelbau and Sardinia, and co-sovereigns of Andorra. In the 13th century, a dispute arose between the Bishop of Urgell and the Count of Foix. The conflict was resolved in 1278 with the mediation of Aragon by the signing of the First Parraillage, which provided that Andorra's sovereignty be shared between the Count of Foix and the Bishop of Urgell. In Catalonia, this gave the principality its territory and political form. With the passage of time, the co-title to Andorra passed to the kings of Navarre. After Henry of Navarre became King Henry IV of France, He issued an edict in 1607 that established the head of the French state and the Bishop of Urgell as co-princes of Andorra. In 1812–13, the First French Empire annexed Catalonia and divided it in 4 départements, with Andorra being made part of the district of Puigcerdà. 17th to 19th centuries Andorra retained its medieval institutions and rural culture largely unchanged during this period. In 1866, a council general of 24 members elected by suffrage limited to heads of family replaced the aristocratic oligarchy previously ruling the state. 20th century Andorra declared war on Imperial Germany during World War I, but did not actually take part in the fighting. It remained in an official state of belligerency until 1958 as it was not included in the Treaty of Versailles. In 1933, France occupied Andorra following social unrest which occurred before elections. On 12 July 1934, adventurer Boris Skysyrov issued a proclamation in Urgell, declaring himself Boris I, King of Andorra, simultaneously declaring war on the Bishop of Urgell. He was arrested by the Spanish authorities on 20 July and ultimately expelled from Spain. From 1936 until 1940, a French military detachment was garrisoned in Andorra to secure the principality against disruption from the Spanish Civil War and Francoist Spain. Francois troops reached the Andorran border in the later stages of the war. During World War II, Andorra remained neutral and was an important smuggling route between Vichy France and Spain. Given its relative isolation, Andorra has existed outside the mainstream of European history, with few ties to countries other than France, Spain and Portugal. In recent times, however, its thriving tourist industry along with developments in transport and communications have removed the country from its isolation. Its political system was modernized in 1993, when it became a member of the United Nations and the Council of Europe. Politics. Andorra is a parliamentary co-principality with the President of France and the Bishop of Urgell as co-princes. This peculiarity makes the President of France, in his capacity as Prince of Andorra, an elected reigning monarch, although he is not elected by a popular vote of the Andorran people. The politics of Andorra take place in a framework of a parliamentary representative democracy, whereby the head of government is the chief executive, and of a pluriform multi-party system. The current head of government is Antoni Martí of the Democrats for Andorra. Executive power is exercised by the government. Legislative power is vested in both government and parliament. The Parliament of Andorra is known as the General Council. The General Council consists of between 28 and 42 councillors, as the members of the legislative branch are called. The councillors serve for 4-year terms and elections are held between the 30th and 40th days following the dissolution of the previous council. The councillors can be elected on 2 equal constituencies. Half are elected in equal number from each of the 7 administrative parishes and the other half of the councillors are elected from a single national constituency. 15 days after the election, the councillors hold their inauguration. During this session, the Syndic General, who is the head of the General Council, and the Sub-Syndic General, his assistant, are elected. 8 days later, the council convenes once more. During this session the head of government is chosen from among the councillors. Candidates for the nomination can be proposed by a minimum of 1/5 of the councillors. The council then elects the candidate with the absolute majority of votes to be head of government. The Syndic General then notifies the co-princes who in turn appoint the elected candidate as the head of government of Andorra. The General Council is also responsible for proposing and passing laws. Bills may be presented to the council as private members' bills by 3 of the local parish councils jointly or by at least 1/10 of the citizens of Andorra. The council also approves the annual budget of the principality. The government must submit the proposed budget for parliamentary approval at least 2 months before the previous budget expires. If the budget is not approved by the first day of the next year, the previous budget is extended until a new one is approved. Once any bill is approved, the Syndic General is responsible for presenting it to the co-princes so that they may sign and enact it. If the head of government is not satisfied with the council, he may request that the co-princes dissolve the council and order new elections. In turn, the councillors have the power to remove the head of government from office. After a motion of censure is approved by at least 1/5 of the councillors, the council will vote, and if it receives the absolute majority of votes, the head of government is removed. Law and criminal justice. The judiciary is composed of the Magistrates' Court, the Criminal Law Court, the High Court of Andorra, and the Constitutional Court. The High Court of Justice is composed of 5 judges, one appointed by the head of government, one each by the co-princes, one by the Syndic General, and one by the judges and magistrates. It is presided over by the member appointed by the Syndic General, and the judges hold office for 6-year terms. The magistrates and judges are appointed by the High Court, as is the president of the Criminal Law Court. The High Court also appoints members of the Office of the Attorney General. It is composed of 4 judges, one appointed by each of the co-princes and 2 by the General Council. They serve 8-year terms. The court is presided over by one of the judges on a 2-year rotation, so that each judge at one point will preside over the court. Foreign relations, defense, and security. Andorra does not have its own armed forces, although there is a small ceremonial army. Responsibility for defending the nation rests primarily with France and Spain. However, in case of emergencies or natural disasters, the Somitant is called, and all able-bodied men between 21 and 60 of Andorran nationality must serve. This is why all Andorrans, and especially the head of each house, should, by law, keep a rifle, even though the law also states that the police will offer a firearm in case of need. Andorra is a full member of the United Nations, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, and has a special agreement with the European Union. Military. Andorra has a small army, which has historically been raised or reconstituted at various dates, but has never in modern times amounted to a standing army. The basic principle of Andorran defense is that all able-bodied men are available to fight if called upon by the sounding of the Somitant. Being a landlocked country, Andorra has no navy. Prior to World War I, Andorra maintained an armed force of about 600 part-time militiamen. This body was not liable for service outside the Principality and was commanded by 2 officials appointed by France and the Bishop of Urgell. In the modern era, the army has consisted of a very small body of volunteers willing to undertake ceremonial duties. Uniforms were handed down from generation to generation within families and communities. Despite not being involved in any fighting, Andorra was technically the longest combatant in the First World War, as the country was left out of the Versailles Peace Conference, and technically remained at war with Germany from 1914 until 1958. The army's role in internal security was largely taken over by the formation of the Police Corps of Andorra in 1931. Brief civil disorder associated with the elections of 1933 led to assistance being sought from the French National Gendarmerie, with a detachment resident in Andorra for 2 months under the command of René-Jules Bourrard. The Andorran army was reformed in the following year, with 11 soldiers appointed to supervisory roles. The force consisted of 6 corporals, 1 for each parish, plus 4 junior staff officers to coordinate action, and a commander with the rank of major. It was the responsibility of the 6 corporals, each in his own parish, to be able to raise a fighting force from among the able-bodied men of the parish. Today a small, 12-man ceremonial unit remains the only permanent section of the Andorran army. but all able-bodied men remain technically available for military service, with a requirement for each family to have access to a firearm. The army has not fought for more than 700 years, and its main responsibility is to present the flag of Andorra at official ceremonial functions. According to Marc Fournier-Molnay, Andorra's military budget is strictly from voluntary donations, and the availability of full-time voluntaries. The myth that all members of the Andorran army are ranked as officers is popularly maintained in many works of reference. In reality, all those serving in the permanent ceremonial reserve hold ranks as officers, or non-commissioned officers, because the other ranks are considered to be the rest of the able-bodied male population, who may still be called upon by the somitant to serve, although such a call has not been made in modern times. GIPA. The Grup d'Intervenció Policial Andorra is a small special forces unit trained in counter-terrorism and hostage recovery tasks. Although it is the closest in style to an active military force, it is part of the police corps, and not the army. As terrorist and hostage situations are a rare threat to the nation, the GIPA is commonly assigned to prisoner escort duties, and at other times to routine policing. Police Corps Andorra maintains a small but modern and well-equipped internal police force, with around 240 police officers supported by civilian assistance. The principal services supplied by the Corps are uniformed community policing, criminal detection, border control, and traffic policing. There are also small specialist units including police dogs, mountain rescue, and bomb disposal. Fire Brigade. The Andorran Fire Brigade, with headquarters at Santa Coloma, operates from 4 modern fire stations, and has a staff of around 120 firefighters. The service is equipped with 16 heavy appliances, 4 light support vehicles, and 4 ambulances. Historically, the families of the 6 ancient parishes of Andorra maintained local arrangements to assist each other in fighting fires. The first fire pump, purchased by the government, was acquired in 1943. The serious fires in parts of the Principality in December 1959 led to calls for a permanent fire service, and the Andorran Fire Brigade was formed on 21 April 1961. The fire service maintains full-time cover with 5 fire crews on duty at any time, 2 at the brigade's headquarters in Santa Coloma, and 1 crew at each of the other 3 fire stations. Geography. Parishes. Andorra consists of 7 parishes: Andorra la Vella, Canio, Incamp, Escaldes and Gordoni, La Massana, Ordino, Sant Julià de Lòria. Physical geography. Due to its location in the Eastern Pyrenees mountain range, Andorra consists predominantly of rugged mountains, the highest being the Coma Pedrosa at 2,942 meters, and the average elevation of Andorra is 1,996 meters. These are dissected by 3 narrow valleys in a Y shape that combine into one as the main stream, the Gran Valira River, leaves the country for Spain. Andorra's land area is 468 square kilometers. Phytogeographically, Andorra belongs to the Atlantic European province of the Circumboreal region within the Boreal Kingdom. According to the WWF, the territory of Andorra belongs to the ecoregion of Pyrenees conifer and mixed forests. Climate. Andorra has an alpine climate and continental climate. Its higher elevation means there is, on average, more snow in winter, lower humidity, and it is slightly cooler in summer. There are, on average, 300 days per year of sunshine.